Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're going to be looking at something that's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
How the world of traditional finance and digital assets are starting to kind of intersect. You know,
Right.
specifically, we're going to be unpacking this whole thing with tokenized US Treasury funds.
Right.
You've shared some articles on this new fund from Libeara and FundBridge Capital,
Yes.
and we've got some good background on tokenization as well.
Yeah. This is a really interesting development, especially with Wellington Management being involved,
Right.
a major player in the asset management space.
It's not every day.
Yeah,
You see a firm like Wellington dipping their toes into the blockchain world.
exactly.
So before we get ahead of ourselves,
Yeah.
can you give me and the listener just a quick breakdown of tokenization? What exactly does it mean to
Yeah.
tokenize something like a US Treasury bond?
So at its core, tokenization is the process of taking a real-world asset, such as a treasury bond,
Okay.
and creating a digital representation of it on a blockchain. This digital token
Mm.
then acts as a stand-in for the actual asset,
Mm-hmm.
and it can be traded, managed, and interacted with
Okay.
in a more efficient and transparent way.
Okay, so instead of holding like a physical bond certificate,
Right.
you would essentially have a digital token that represents your ownership.
Exactly.
That's pretty cool.
It is, and it opens up a lot of possibilities.
Yeah.
Imagine being able to trade fractions of a treasury bond
Mm-hmm.
or having the entire transaction process automated through smart contracts.
Yeah.
That's the kind of efficiency and accessibility
Wow.
that tokenization can bring to the table.
So it's kind of like taking this old school world of finance, sometimes cumbersome,
Yes.
injecting it with a dose of modern technology.
Precisely. And this new fund from Libeara and FundBridge Capital
Oh, wow.
is a perfect example of how this is playing out in real time.
Okay.
They've created what's called the Delta Wellington Ultra Short Treasury On-Chain Fund,
Okay.
which is built on Libeara's Delta platform and uses blockchain technology to tokenize units of the fund.
Interesting. And it looks like they are targeting investors from both traditional and digital markets.
Yes, that's an important detail.
Yeah.
The fund allows investors to participate using both USDC, a stablecoin pegged to the US dollar,
Okay.
and traditional fiat currency.
Mm-hmm.
This opens the door for a wider range of investors to get involved.
Now, I know our listeners are probably familiar with the basics, but
Right.
can you give us a quick explanation of what a stablecoin is
Yeah.
and how it differs from other cryptocurrencies?
Of course, so unlike cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin or Ethereum,
Yeah.
which can be quite volatile in price,
Right.
stablecoins are designed to maintain a stable value.
Mm.
USDC in particular is pegged to the US dollar, meaning its value is intended to remain relatively constant
Okay.
at $1 per USDC.
Got it.
This stability makes stablecoins more appealing to investors
Yeah.
who might be wary of the price swings often seen in other cryptocurrencies.
So in this case, using USDC to invest in the fund offers a way to participate in the world of tokenized assets
Right.
without being exposed to the volatility of crypto markets.
Exactly. It provides a bridge between the stability of traditional finance and the innovation of blockchain technology.
I'm seeing in these articles that this fund focuses on ultra short-term US Treasury securities.
Right.
What exactly are those and why would investors be interested in them?
Ultra short-term U.S. Treasury securities are debt obligations
Okay.
issued by the U.S. government
Mm-hmm.
with maturities of less than 1 year.
Okay.
They are considered to be among the safest and most liquid investments in the world
Okay.
because of their short maturity.
Mm-hmm.
They are less sensitive to interest rate fluctuations
Okay.
compared to longer-term bonds,
Got it.
and they provide a relatively stable return.
So this fund is essentially offering investors a way to gain exposure to a low-risk, stable asset class,
Right.
but with the added benefits of blockchain technology.
Yes. That's a good way to put it.
Okay,
It's a way to potentially enhance the traditional investment experience with features like increased security, transparency, and efficiency.
Wait, hold on a second. You've mentioned those benefits a few times now.
Sure.
Could you break that down for me and for our listener? How does blockchain actually make these things more secure, for instance?
Sure. Let's start with security.
Okay.
Blockchain utilizes cryptography,
Mm-hmm.
essentially complex mathematical algorithms,
Okay.
to secure transactions and prevent unauthorized access to data.
Okay.
In simple terms, imagine a digital vault with multiple locks,
Mm-hmm.
each requiring a unique key.
Okay.
Only those with the correct keys can access the information,
Got it.
making it extremely difficult for hackers to compromise the system.
Okay. So instead of relying on a single institution to safeguard the assets,
Right.
the blockchain itself provides an added layer of protection.
Precisely. And it's not just about preventing theft.
Okay.
Blockchain also eliminates the risk of human error or manipulation
Okay.
that can occur in traditional systems,
Mm-hmm.
since every transaction is permanently recorded on the blockchain.
Right.
It creates an immutable and transparent record that can be audited at any time.
That's really interesting. It sounds like blockchain could bring a much-needed boost of transparency to the financial world.
It definitely has that potential.
Ah.
And it's not just about security and transparency.
Okay.
Remember, blockchain also offers the potential for increased efficiency.
Right.
This is where smart contracts come in.
Okay.
These self-executing contracts automate many of the processes involved in managing and trading assets.
Right. I remember you mentioning smart contracts earlier.
Right?
Can you give me an example of how they would actually work in the context of this fund?
Absolutely. Let's take the process of subscribing to the fund as an example.
Okay.
Traditionally, this would involve paperwork,
Right.
multiple intermediaries,
Mm-hmm.
and potentially delays.
Yeah.
With smart contracts, the entire subscription process can be automated.
Okay.
Investors could simply connect their digital wallets, agree to the terms and conditions encoded in the smart contract,
All right.
and their investment would be processed automatically.
Wow. So no more waiting for days or even weeks for transactions to clear. That's a pretty significant improvement.
It is, and this streamlined approach applies to other processes as well,
Okay.
such as redeeming units or transferring ownership.
So it's like taking all of the friction out of traditional financial transactions.
Essentially, yes, and it doesn't stop there.
Yeah.
The tokenized units of this fund will be available on multiple blockchains,
Okay.
including Ethereum, Arbitrum Avalanche, and Solana.
Mm-hmm.
This multi-chain approach expands accessibility and reach,
Okay.
potentially attracting a more diverse pool of investors.
That's a good point, making it easier for people to invest.
Right.
Regardless of their preferred blockchain platform, could really open up the market for tokenized assets.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've covered the basics of tokenization
Yeah.
and how this new fund is structured.
Yeah.
Before we move on, what has been the initial reaction to this fund? Has the Web3 community been paying attention?
Absolutely.
Mhm.
There's been significant interest from various corners of the Web3 ecosystem.
Okay.
Stablecoin issuers, decentralized exchanges, and decentralized autonomous organizations,
Okay.
or DAOs, as they're known.
DAOs.
Yeah.
I'm not sure our listener will be familiar with those. Can you give us a quick explanation?
So a DAO,
Okay.
or decentralized autonomous organization,
Mm-hmm.
is essentially a community-governed entity that operates on a blockchain.
Okay.
Think of it as a digital cooperative,
Okay.
where decisions are made collectively by members through voting mechanisms,
Got it.
typically using tokens.
Okay.
This new fund could be attractive to DAOs,
Mm-hmm.
seeking a safe and transparent way to manage their treasury holdings.
So instead of having like a central authority making decisions,
Okay.
DAOs operate more democratically,
Right.
using blockchain technology to facilitate decision-making and governance.
Yeah, that's the basic idea.
Okay.
And it's not just theoretical interest either.
Mm.
We've already seen participation from prominent Web3 players like
Mhm.
Mountain Protocol,
Okay.
Drift, and Ondo Finance.
Okay.
Ondo Finance in particular is playing a key role in supporting same-day redemptions for the fund.
That same-day redemption feature is interesting.
Yeah.
So even though this is a tokenized fund,
Right.
investors have the flexibility to quickly access their funds if needed.
Yes.
That seems like it would address a major concern for some people who might be hesitant to invest in crypto-related assets.
Exactly. It provides a level of liquidity that is often lacking in traditional financial products. It's another way that tokenization can enhance the investor experience.
This is all very fascinating. It feels like we're seeing a real convergence of traditional finance in the world of blockchain.
It certainly does. And it's not just about technology. It's
Yeah.
also about bringing new ideas and perspectives to the table.
Well, speaking of new ideas and perspectives, let's hear what some of the key players have to say about this development.
Sure.
We've got some great quotes from some of your research.
Yes. There are some very insightful comments from the leadership at Libeara and Wellington Management.
Okay.
But before we get into that,
Okay.
I think it's time to kind of shift gears a bit
Okay.
and talk about the bigger picture.
Mm-hmm.
This fund is certainly groundbreaking,
Yeah.
but what does it tell us about the broader trend of tokenization?
Right.
Where do you see this all heading?
That's a great question. It does feel like we're just scratching the surface here.
Yeah.
But before we dive into that,
Yeah.
let's take a moment to hear from those at the forefront of this innovation.
Sure.
What are they saying about the significance of this fund and the future of tokenization?
Great idea. Let's start with Aaron Gwak, the founder and CEO of Libeara. Aaron Gwak sees this collaboration as a significant milestone not just for Libeara, but for the entire tokenization ecosystem.
Okay.
He believes this new fund
Mm-hmm.
carries a similar level of institutional credibility
Okay.
as their Delta Fund SGD, which remarkably was the first tokenized fund to receive an A rating from Moody's.
Wow, an A rating from Moody's. That's a pretty big deal in the financial world.
Yes.
It sounds like this isn't just some experimental project.
Right.
They're aiming for mainstream acceptance with this fund.
Absolutely. And it's not just Libeara
Okay.
that's excited about the potential here.
Mm-hmm.
Mark Garabedian, the Director of Digital Assets and Tokenization for Wellington Management,
Okay.
has spoken about how tokenization
Mm-hmm.
could be a game changer for asset management.
Okay.
He sees blockchain technology
Right.
as a way to optimize client access
Yeah.
and significantly boost operational efficiency.
So Wellington Management is looking at this as more than just a one-off experiment. They seem to be genuinely interested in exploring the long-term potential of tokenization.
Yes, and their involvement lends a lot of credibility to this space.
Right.
It's a strong signal to other traditional financial institutions
Okay.
that tokenization is something worth paying attention to.
Okay, so we've got these major players on board. But what about the broader Web3 community? We talked about those early participants.
Right.
But what are they saying about their experience with the fund so far?
So Martin Carica,
Yeah.
the CEO and co-founder of Mountain Protocol, has been particularly vocal.
Okay.
He sees this fund as a significant step
Mm-hmm.
towards the institutionalization of the crypto sector
Okay.
for Mountain Protocol.
Right.
It aligns perfectly with their investment mandate for ultra-safe investments.
Okay.
And they appreciate the increased transparency
Right.
that the blockchain brings to the table.
That makes sense. Transparency is a big deal in the crypto world,
Yeah.
especially given some of the high-profile scandals we've seen in recent years.
Right, and it's not just about building trust within the crypto community.
Mm-hmm.
This level of transparency could also appeal to more traditional investors
Right.
who might be hesitant to get involved
Yeah.
in something that feels opaque or risky.
Speaking of traditional investors, we also have a quote from Margaret Harwood-Jones, the global head of financing and securities services at Standard Chartered.
Right.
What's her take on this development?
So Margaret Harwood-Jones emphasized Standard Chartered's commitment to supporting clients
Mm-hmm.
who are exploring the digital asset ecosystem.
Okay.
She sees this fund as a prime example of the innovative solutions that are emerging in this space.
It's interesting to see this kind of support coming from a major global bank.
Yeah.
It really does feel like we're witnessing a convergence of traditional finance and the world of digital assets.
It's an exciting time to be watching this space evolve.
Yeah.
Now, you asked earlier about where I see all of this heading.
Right.
I think this particular fund is just the tip of the iceberg.
Okay.
We're likely to see waves of similar tokenized funds emerge,
Mm-hmm.
offering exposure to a variety of asset classes beyond US Treasuries.
So this could be a blueprint for tokenizing all sorts of investments.
Yes.
What other types of assets could we see being tokenized in the near future?
Well, the possibilities are vast. We could see tokenized real estate,
Mm-hmm.
allowing for fractional ownership of properties.
Okay.
We could see tokenized private equity funds,
Right.
opening up access to exclusive investment opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
Even things like fine art or collectibles could be tokenized,
Okay.
making it easier to buy, sell, and trade these assets.
This is really mind-blowing.
Yeah.
It sounds like tokenization could democratize access to all sorts of investments
Yeah.
that were previously out of reach for most people.
That's the potential here.
Yeah.
And it's not just about access.
Okay.
Tokenization could also lead to the creation of entirely new asset classes,
Wow.
things that we haven't even thought of yet.
Okay, so let's say I'm listening to this and I'm completely intrigued by the possibilities.
Yeah.
Where would someone even begin to learn more about tokenized assets and how to get involved?
There are some great resources available.
Okay.
Reputable financial websites like Bloomberg,
Mm-hmm.
the Wall Street Journal, and Financial Times
Oh.
are covering tokenization extensively.
Okay.
And there are specialized blockchain news outlets like CoinDesk and The Block
Right.
that provide in-depth analysis of this space.
Those are some good starting points, but with so much information out there,
Yeah,
it's important to be discerning, right?
absolutely.
How can someone make sure they're getting accurate and unbiased information?
Look for sources that are known for their credibility and fact-checking.
Okay.
Be wary of information that sounds too good to be true
Right.
or promises unrealistic returns.
Mm-hmm.
And it's always a good idea to cross-reference information from multiple sources
Right.
to get a well-rounded perspective.
It's like anything else in the world of finance.
Right.
Do your research, ask questions.
Exactly.
And don't invest in anything you don't fully understand.
Exactly. And if you are considering making an investment in a tokenized asset, it's always a good idea to consult with a financial advisor
Right.
who is knowledgeable about this space.
Now, before we get too carried away with the excitement of this new technology, it's important to acknowledge that there are also potential risks to consider.
Yeah, that's a crucial point.
What are some of the downsides or challenges
Sure.
that come with tokenization?
One of the biggest challenges is regulatory uncertainty.
Okay.
Governments around the world are still figuring out how to classify and regulate tokenized assets.
Right.
And this lack of clarity can create uncertainty for investors and businesses operating in this space.
So it's kind of a Wild West out there right now.
In some ways, yes, but that's also part of what makes it so exciting.
Yeah.
We're witnessing the birth of a new financial ecosystem,
Right.
and it's evolving rapidly.
Right.
Another potential risk is the technology itself.
Okay.
Blockchain technology is still relatively new, and there are ongoing debates about scalability,
Right.
security, and sustainability.
Right. We've seen those debates play out in the news, and I imagine those concerns would be amplified when you're talking about tokenizing assets
Yes.
that represent real value, like treasury bonds.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The stakes are higher when you're dealing with real-world assets.
Right.
So it's essential to have robust security measures in place and to address any potential vulnerabilities in the technology.
So it's not a matter of simply taking an existing asset and slapping a token on it.
Right.
There needs to be careful consideration of the technological infrastructure and the
Yes.
potential risks involved.
Exactly. And beyond the technological and regulatory challenges,
Okay.
there are also market risks to consider.
Okay.
Tokenized assets, like any other investment, can fluctuate in value.
Right.
We've already seen significant volatility in the crypto markets.
Right.
And this volatility could spill over
Yeah.
into the world of tokenized assets.
That's a good point. It's important for investors to understand that tokenization doesn't magically eliminate market risk. It's still important to have a well-diversified portfolio
Yes.
and to be prepared for potential ups and downs in the market.
Absolutely. And it's important to remember that tokenization is not a get-rich-quick scheme.
Right.
It's a long-term trend that is still in its early stages of development.
Right.
There will be challenges and setbacks along the way,
Yeah.
but the potential benefits are significant.
So it's a matter of approaching this new frontier with a balanced perspective,
Exactly.
being aware of both the potential rewards and the potential risks.
Exactly. And as with any investment decision,
Right.
it's crucial to do your research,
Yeah.
understand the underlying technology, and assess your own risk tolerance before diving in.
All right, so we've talked about the potential benefits and risks of tokenization.
Yes.
But I want to circle back to this specific fund for a moment.
Okay.
What makes it so groundbreaking? Why is it garnering so much attention?
This fund represents a significant step in bridging the gap between traditional finance and the world of digital assets.
Okay.
You have established players like Wellington Management, a giant in the asset management world,
Right.
embracing tokenization and collaborating with innovators like Libeara.
Right.
This sends a strong signal that the financial industry is taking this technology seriously.
It's like the old guard is recognizing the potential of the new kids on the block.
Yeah.
But what about the practicalities?
Sure.
How does someone actually invest in this tokenized fund?
Okay.
Do I need a special crypto wallet or something?
The accessibility of this fund is one of its key features.
Okay.
Remember, you can invest using both USDC
Yeah.
and traditional fiat currency.
Right.
The process is designed to be user-friendly.
Okay.
Even for those who are new to the world of crypto,
Okay.
investors will likely need to go through a KYC process.
Okay.
Know your customer, similar to opening a traditional brokerage account.
Okay.
And then they can fund their account with either USDC or fiat currency. From there, they can purchase units of the tokenized fund.
So it's not as daunting as it might sound at first.
Right.
You don't need to be a crypto expert to participate in this fund.
Not at all. The fund managers have made a conscious effort
Okay.
to make the process as straightforward as possible.
Right. Yeah.
Recognizing that they are targeting a broad audience
Yeah.
that includes both crypto-savvy investors and those who are new to the space.
That's reassuring to hear.
Yeah.
It makes me think about the broader implications here.
Right.
Could this be a glimpse into the future of investing?
That's a great question.
Will we see more and more traditional assets being tokenized
That's,
and made accessible to a wider range of investors?
that's $1 million question, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think it's safe to say that tokenization is poised for explosive growth.
Okay.
We're already seeing interest from a wide range of industries, from real estate to art to supply chain management.
So it's not just limited to financial assets.
It's not at all. Any asset that can be represented digitally
Wow.
can potentially be tokenized.
Okay.
This opens up a world of possibilities for increased efficiency, transparency, and liquidity.
It's like the Internet of Value is coming to life.
Yes.
But I'm curious, are there any other tokenized funds out there like this one? Or is this truly a trailblazer?
This particular fund is certainly a pioneer,
Okay.
especially in the realm of tokenized US Treasury funds,
Okay.
but it's not alone.
Okay.
We're seeing a growing number of tokenized funds emerging, offering exposure to a variety of asset classes.
All right.
For instance, there are tokenized index funds that track the performance of major stock market indices, and there are tokenized real estate funds that allow investors to own fractions of properties.
It's like a whole new asset class is being born.
Right.
What does this mean for the future of traditional investment vehicles?
Yeah.
Are they going the way of the dodo?
That's a great question,
Yeah.
and one that financial experts are grappling with right
Yeah.
now. It's unlikely that tokenization will completely replace traditional investment vehicles anytime soon.
Right.
However, it's certainly going to disrupt the industry
Yeah.
and force traditional players to adapt.
It's like shaking up the financial snow globe
Yeah,
and seeing how the flakes settle.
exactly.
But for someone who's just dipping their toes
Yep.
into the world of tokenized assets,
Yeah.
where's a good place to start learning more?
We've already talked about reputable financial news sources,
Right.
but there are also some great educational platforms
Okay.
that provide courses and resources
Okay.
on blockchain technology and tokenization.
Okay.
Platforms like Coursera, Udemy, and Khan Academy
Mm-hmm.
offer courses on these topics
Okay.
that can provide a good foundation for understanding how it all works.
It's like opening Pandora's box of financial knowledge.
Yes,
But with so much information out there, it's
Right.
important to be discerning, right?
absolutely.
Not all sources are created equal.
Look for sources that are credible, unbiased,
Right.
and provide clear explanations. And remember, it's always a good idea to consult with a financial advisor
Right?
before making any investment decisions.
Always good advice. But speaking of advice,
Sure.
what words of wisdom would you offer to someone
Yeah.
who's intrigued by tokenization but
Mhm.
hesitant to dive in?
I'd say don't be afraid to explore.
Oh,
Tokenization is still in its early stages,
right.
but it has the potential to transform the financial landscape.
Mm-hmm.
Do your research, stay informed,
Right.
and approach it with a healthy dose of curiosity.
It's like venturing into a new frontier.
Exactly.
There might be some bumps along the way,
Yep.
but the potential rewards could be substantial.
Exactly. And who knows, you might just discover your next big investment opportunity.
Yeah.
We've covered a lot of ground today.
Yeah.
Before we wrap things up, is
Yeah.
there anything else you'd like to highlight about this new tokenized US Treasury fund?
Yes, actually. We've been talking about the potential benefits for investors, but I'm also wondering about the broader implications for the financial system as a whole.
Yeah.
Could tokenization lead to a more efficient, transparent, and inclusive financial system?
Hmm.
Or are there potential downsides that we need to be aware of?
Those are excellent questions.
Yeah.
And they get to the heart of what makes tokenization such a fascinating
Right.
and potentially transformative technology.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, the answers are still unfolding as we speak.
Well, on that note of anticipation and exploration,
Right.
let's take a moment to recap what we've learned so far.
Sure.
Before we dive into those broader implications.
Okay.
We've covered the basics of tokenization,
Yes.
explored the features of this new fund,
Hmm.
and discussed the potential benefits and risks for investors.
Right.
But there's still so much more to unpack.
Yes, indeed. We've just scratched the surface
Yeah.
of what tokenization could mean for the future of finance.
Welcome back to the deep dive. Before we went to our last break, we were talking about how this new tokenized US Treasury fund is a signal of potentially bigger changes to come in the world of finance.
Yes. This fund is a fascinating example of how blockchain technology
Mm-hmm.
is starting to bridge the gap between traditional finance and the world of digital assets.
Right. And we were just about to dive into the broader implications of tokenization.
Yes.
You mentioned that this could lead to a more efficient, transparent, and inclusive financial system.
Right.
Let's unpack that a bit. How could tokenization make the financial system more efficient?
So one of the key ways that tokenization can boost efficiency
Okay.
is by automating many of the processes that are currently manual and time-consuming.
Okay.
We've already discussed how smart contracts
Right.
can streamline things like subscribing to a fund or transferring ownership of assets.
Right.
But this goes beyond individual transactions.
Okay.
Imagine a world where entire back-office operations like clearing and settlement of trades
Yeah.
are handled automatically through blockchain technology.
Wow.
This could drastically reduce the time and cost associated with these processes,
Right.
making the entire financial system more efficient.
So it's not just about making life easier for investors.
Right.
It's about creating a more streamlined and cost-effective system as a whole.
Exactly. And this increased efficiency
Okay.
could have ripple effects throughout the economy.
Yeah.
If financial institutions can operate more efficiently,
Mm-hmm.
they can potentially pass those savings on to consumers
Right.
in the form of lower fees or better interest rates.
That's a compelling argument for efficiency.
Right.
But what about transparency?
Yeah.
We've touched on this before.
Right.
But how could tokenization lead to a more transparent financial system?
Well, blockchain technology, by its very nature, promotes transparency.
Okay.
Every transaction is recorded on a public ledger that is accessible to anyone.
Right.
This makes it much harder to hide fraudulent activity or engage in shady financial practices.
So it's like having a permanent, auditable record of every financial transaction.
Essentially, yes. And this level of transparency could have a profound impact on building trust in the financial system.
Oh.
Think about the 2008 financial crisis, for instance.
Yeah.
A lack of transparency played a significant role in that crisis.
Right.
If we had had a blockchain-based system in place back then,
Okay.
it's possible that the crisis could have been averted or at least mitigated.
That's a bold statement.
It is.
But it highlights the potential here.
Right.
A more transparent system could help prevent future crises
Well, exactly.
and create a more stable financial environment.
Precisely. And it's not just about preventing crises.
Okay.
Increased transparency could also lead to more informed decision-making
Okay.
by investors, regulators, and policymakers.
Okay.
When everyone has access to the same information,
Right.
it's easier to identify trends, assess risks, and make sound judgments.
Okay, so we've talked about efficiency and transparency.
Right.
Now let's get to the idea of inclusivity.
Sure.
How could tokenization make the financial system more inclusive?
Tokenization has the potential to break down many of the barriers that currently prevent people from accessing financial services.
Okay.
For instance, many people around the world are unbanked or underbanked,
Right.
meaning they lack access to traditional banking services.
Mm-hmm.
This can make it difficult to save money, build credit, or participate in the formal economy.
Right. That's a huge issue, especially in developing countries.
Exactly. But with tokenization,
Okay.
people could potentially access financial services directly through blockchain-based platforms without needing a traditional bank account.
Wow.
All they would need is a smartphone and an internet connection.
So it's like bypassing the traditional gatekeepers of the financial system
Right.
and giving people direct access to financial tools and services.
Precisely. And it's not just about access to basic banking services.
Okay.
Tokenization could also make it easier for small businesses to raise capital,
Okay.
for artists to monetize their work,
Mm-hmm.
and for individuals to invest in opportunities that were previously out of reach.
This sounds very promising, but I also want to acknowledge the potential downsides.
Sure.
Are there risks that come with a more inclusive financial system?
Of course, there are always potential downsides to consider.
Okay.
One concern is that increased access to financial services
Mm-hmm.
could lead to increased risk-taking or even exploitation,
Right.
especially among those who are new to the world of finance.
Right.
It's important to have appropriate safeguards in place,
Okay.
such as financial literacy programs
Mm-hmm.
and consumer protection regulations
Right.
to ensure that people are using these new tools responsibly.
That's a really important point. It's like giving someone a powerful tool
Yeah.
without teaching them how to use it safely.
Exactly.
Education and regulation will be key to ensuring that tokenization leads to a more inclusive and equitable financial system
Right.
rather than one that exacerbates existing inequalities.
Absolutely. And it's also important to be mindful of the potential for unintended consequences. For instance, if tokenization leads to a rapid shift away from traditional financial institutions, this could have destabilizing effects on the economy.
Right.
It's important to manage this transition carefully.
Okay.
and to ensure that the regulatory framework evolves alongside the technology.
So it's not just about the technology itself.
Right.
It's about how we use it
Yeah,
and how we adapt our systems to accommodate it.
exactly. Tokenization is a powerful tool, but it's just a tool.
Right.
The real challenge lies in using it wisely and ethically
Right.
to create a financial system that benefits everyone.
That's a great way to frame it. It's not about the technology taking over. It's
Okay.
about humans using technology to
Exactly.
create a better future.
Well said. And that brings us to the most important question of all.
Okay.
What role do you, our listener, want to play in this unfolding story?
That's a powerful question to end on. It's not just about observing these changes from the sidelines.
Right.
It's about actively engaging learning
Yeah.
and shaping the future of finance. Yes, exactly. Yeah. This is an invitation to be a part of something truly transformative.
Yeah.
Tokenization has the potential to reshape the financial landscape in profound ways.
Hmm.
And the choices we make today
Right.
will determine the kind of financial system we create for tomorrow.
So to our listener,
Yeah.
we encourage you to dive deeper into this topic.
Yes.
Explore the resources we've mentioned.
Right.
And ask yourself how you can be a part of this exciting new chapter
Yeah.
in the world of finance.
And remember, the future is not something that happens to us.
Yeah.
It's something we create.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive
Yes.
into the world of tokenized U.S. Treasury funds
Right.
and the broader implications of tokenization.
Yeah.
We hope you found this exploration insightful and thought-provoking.
I hope so.
Until next time, keep your minds open, your curiosity burning bright, and your wallets ready for the future of finance.